Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to say goodbye to In the Dark. If you're unaware really quickly what In the Dark is, it is a show in the CW. Initially, this blind woman, Murphy, wants to get justice for her friend Tyson, who was murdered. And so it's up to her to kind of do what she feels like the police aren't doing enough. She feels like she has to be the one that ends up solving Tyson's murder. She ends up dragging like her coworker Felix as well as her best friend Jess into this. And then you mix in some characters like Darnell and Max, which... and him and Murphy's a whole thing. And then like Dean, the cop who's investigating the case. Like, there's just so many threads and so many pieces. It is one of those interesting shows that I've talked about in other instances where I think this show is so interesting in how it was structured that the show, I believe, started off labeled as just a comedy drama. But I'd say around probably season 3, probably season 2, but I definitely feel like season 3, it really leaned more into like the crime drama elements of it. Granted, it still has that comedy drama element to it because there is like, the show is legitimately funny at moments, but it also is that seriousness. But like I said, I feel like aspects of season 2, without spoiling it, definitely leaned into the more crime drama elements, and the show's kind of going further and further down that route. But it was definitely more comedy drama-ish from the beginning, I believe, but then they really leaned into the crime drama element of it. And because it's one of those shows, as I've kind of described it time and time again, the best comparison is just to kind of give you a feel. I'm not trying to compare directly, but kind of a tonal thing. It's like Ozark. How Ozark, it's like, man, no matter what happens, there's always like one thing after another. Which reminds me, I need to do a video about Ozark too. Jeez, I'm talking about Ozark made me think about that. Jeez. Regardless, it's just one of those things where everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's just one of those shows. It's like, oh, you plan, oh, people plan, God laughs type of situation. It's like that. Like that, this show is the antithesis of that. Because like everything that can possibly go wrong goes wrong. Like nothing ever fully goes according to plan. Even when it goes according to plan, it super falls apart at some point in time. And like I said, it's just like this interesting cast of characters that you're always like, man, the words I've used before, in particular in my nerd mode for In the Dark, is, man, how is the gang going to get out of this one? It's one of those shows where you're just like, all right, how are you going to find your way out of this? And obviously, depending on who you ask, some people are like, I've always, like I said time and time again, I'm hashtag Team Murphy. That is not always the case. You will find plenty of people who are like, Murphy sucks. Without spoiling it, Murphy's not the greatest person. She can kind of be a terrible person. She can be very, very, very mean, and she can do stuff that is very beneficial to her. She does a lot for self-preservation, and there's a lot of, I think, a lot of psychological stuff that kind of plays into that. I mean, for one, she wasn't born blind. She lost her sight, and I think maybe that kind of played at her kind of being angry at the world, and I think she kind of has a tendency to lash out at people, and just like she has a tendency to use people too. Like, obviously, you watch the show, you'll learn about that as things kind of progress, but I do think it is a thoroughly an awesome show where you just always curious, like, okay, so what's going to happen next? Where are things going to go from here? Once again, how are things going to go wrong? Because they inevitably will go wrong. Sadly, the show was canceled before its 4th season premiered. I want to say a little bit. It's sadly one of the shows that kind of got the, as people call it, the Zaslav axe. Everything, the whole Warner Brothers angle, and obviously the CW's under the Warner Brothers umbrella. I think they mainly own it, not unless they share it with other tangents on the side. It's one of those shows that kind of got the axe, sadly, and its 4th season hadn't premiered yet, so this 4th season ended up being the last. So it is a show that, without spoiling it, I think the ending is I said it at the time, and it's one of those endings where I enjoyed it. I can see why someone wouldn't. But once again, I will always cut the show some slack too, because it's like, right, you probably had some idea, because like someone had actually recently told me, and I thought this was kind of interesting, that the show, apparently they filmed 2 endings. The one we got as well as another one. The one we got was kind of like, hey, in case we don't get another season, give you a conclusive enough ending to some extent. The other one probably would have left things a lot more open-ended. So it's like a thing of, the show leaves itself open, even with the ending we got that was the series finale. There's still room to be like, there could be a season 5. Would I want a season 5? Probably yes, but there's also a part of me that's like, I kind of don't, because I like where things ended. But it obviously, because I like theorizing about, well, what could have happened next, and I think like there's at least one more season's worth of story that I think could be told for season 5, but especially because there's certain elements that came up, but I'll probably talk about that in like a separate video coming up, maybe about like, what if there was a season 5, because I'm sure there's probably information about what the writers and creators would have done for a season 5. So probably combine that with what I thinking a season 5 could have been. But I still think thoroughly the show had was just enjoyable all around. Once again, I even just on my comment section on my review of the series finale, like the spectrum of like responses to that could be like, it was, I thoroughly enjoyed it too. It was okay to, I straight up hated it. So, you know, once again, I still think, you know, regardless of a series finale, because obviously series finale can always have a range of emotions for people, I think the series is still worthwhile taking that journey, even if you think like, oh, like you're hearing middling things about the series finale. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Not everyone's going to feel that way. Maybe you watching this decide to watch the show and maybe you won't feel it, but I still think the journey is well worth it because it's just a great and just fun show. Once again, context of a lot of stuff, it's weird to call it fun, but yeah, it is. It's just a fun, wild ride. I've used that a lot, but this show really personifies that. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.